Welcome back to my channel, everyone. The Next Level Life Hacks, where we take the next steps needed to grow towards our financial freedom and our success. Now, a few days ago, we looked over the 30-30-30-10 budgeting system. And I had promised you in that video that we're going to be looking and comparing it to the other budgeting method that I had mentioned in previous videos, which is the 50-30-20. Each of them has their own specific purpose and catered towards your stage and your goal and aim in life, wherever you are in life. And therefore, we're going to be looking at which one might be more applicable to your stage in life. I had mentioned in a previous video that the 30-30-10 method is more suitable for me as to what my goals are and where I am in my life now. But I also wanted you to look at the 50-30-20 because it might be more applicable to you. Now, I'm going to be asking you in the comment section later on for you to tell me, after I do the comparison of these two methods, which one you think is more applicable to you and probably why. Now, let's do a quick overview of each of the methods. The 30-30-30-10 method, if you remember properly from the previous video, and if it is that you have not watched that video as yet, maybe you need to go and watch it. I'm going to be placing it here, that you can look at what that method is in more detail, because I went as much as to give you specific examples based on average income to see how you should break it down into each category, what you should be spending on average amount, and what it is that you should be saving or investing and so on. So go and watch that video and then come back here. I'll be waiting on you. Psych. Anyway, the 30-30-30-10 method is that 30 should be on your housing, the other 30 on your necessities, the last 30 on your financial goals, and then the 10 would be on your wants. The 50-30-20 method is a little bit more simple. Maybe I gave away one of the comparative details just now, in that 50 should be towards your needs, 30% towards your wants, 20% towards your savings. Now, immediately, you can see some of the pros and cons right there, depending on what your focus is and what your goals are for the future. So let's look at the pros of each one for now, before we even dive into the comparison. The 30-30-30-10 method, or should I just say 30s and 10? So the 30s and 10 method focuses more on savings and investment. And as I mentioned in my previous video, depending on where you are in life, if it is that you want your focus to be more on savings, and it can be that you have a milestone or a heavy budget item that you want to be saving for, then you would use this method. I had mentioned before as well, for me, that I'm looking to retire early, then I want to save and invest more so that I can retire earlier. So this method would work more for me. So that's one pro of this method. The second pro is that it gives you more structure, because it breaks it down much more detail into 30, 30, 30, and then 10. It gives you a roadmap and is more detailed in terms of how you should be allocating your monthly salary or your monthly income in general. Another one is that, or another pro is that it gives you that flexibility in terms of that 10% that you can be using for your wants. Because as I mentioned also in the video, you have to have in some amount of pleasure in anything that you're doing, because anything too rigid is going to lead to a downfall. Now, what are the cons of this? It is very restrictive. And it is going to be based on how structured it is, because anything that gives you a prescribed structure for you to stick to, and the more granular it gets, is the more restrictive it is going to be in some sense. But I like it because it keeps me focused and it keeps me pointed in a certain direction. So that's one restriction that it has. The other one is that it does not factor in unexpected expenses like miscellaneous expenses in some of the areas, and therefore you can be having yourself going outside of these expenses because of unexpected expenses. Now let's get an overview of the other method, which is the 50-30-20. Now this method was developed by Senator Elizabeth Warren, and it basically states that the 50% should be towards your needs, whether it be housing, utilities, transportation, insurance, and minimum loan payments. Not loan payments, for example, credit cards that goes towards a statement balance or clearing it in its entirely, but minimum loan payments. Just the required amount, and not have them go into bad debt or to go into default. The 30% would be for wants. And this gives you an allowance to use towards your dining out experience, entertainment, hobbies, vacations, and non-essential shopping outside of your needs. The 20% which is the last amount, goes towards your savings and debt repayments. And I know I mentioned debt repayment in the first 50%, but this is more than just the minimum payment, and this is an amount that would be going towards paying off or clearing your debts. Also factored in here are investments and an emergency fund that you would accumulate. Because remember, as I mentioned in previous videos as well, you need to have an emergency fund, which is 3 to 6 months of your monthly income. What are the pros with this? The first one is that it gives you a more balanced approach. And this balance comes in where it concerns your needs and your wants and your savings. So it's a little bit more balanced in terms of the 50, 30, 20. And also it gives you that flexibility which allows you more spending on discretionary items. Now it is rather adaptable because it is easier to use, so more persons will go towards this 50, 30, 20 than the 3 30s and a 10. All right. Now what are the cons? It gives you a lower savings rate because it gives you only the 20% towards your savings. And again, I mentioned to you, it depends on what your goals are and your stage in life. And another disadvantage is that there is the possibility to overspend on your wants or leisure activities because of the higher amount that is allocated here. So persons need to be much more careful in terms of this budgeting method. Now let's do the comparative analysis. Let's look first at the savings and the financial goals that you'll be having. Because the 3 30s and a 10 gives you a higher requirement for your saving, which is at 30%, as opposed to the 20% in the second method, you will see that you will have more going towards your savings and financial goals in the 3 30s and a 10 method than the 50, 30, 20. The disadvantage here as well is that because the 50, 30, 20 only states 20% towards savings and financial goals, you will be saving less. The second comparison is that the 50, 30, 20 triples the amount that you are allowed to spend on your wants or leisure activity, because the 30, 30, 30 actually takes from your leisure activity, puts more towards savings, therefore it is restricting you to having you focus more on savings. However, the second method, it can be used especially if you have accomplished your savings and investment goals and you want to relax more. And remember, you can use these methods interchangeably or at different stages and seasons of your life. So if you think you have accomplished something major, or it is that you want to take a break from significant savings, then you can use a 50, 30, 20 because, hey, your expenditure allowance on wants and leisure is actually tripled here, so you can spend more on enjoying life. Another comparison for me is that both methods are pretty simple to follow because both of them, though one is more relaxed than the other, both of them give you a structure in which you can follow so that you can organize your expenses, organize your finances, and can still lead you towards whichever goal or whatever it is that you want to accomplish in your life. So just a quick recap, the 30, 30, 30, 10 method gives you more structure and is more catered for someone who wants to focus more on their savings and investment or overall their financial goals. While the 50, 30, 20 is more relaxed, gives you more allowance for leisure and wants, so therefore you can utilize it. So that's the main difference that I find in both of them. Ultimate though, my friends, it is best for you to analyze, mix and match, determine which one works for you based on what your goals are and based on what really suits your stage in life. I also recommend that you regularly review your budget for tweaks as to where you want to be and also what you want to invest more in based again on what it is that you want your focus to be. Now, as usual, my friends, if it is that you have found any part of this content to be beneficial, please like, subscribe, comment, share it with someone that you think might benefit. Tell me in the comment section below which one you think is more suitable for where you are in life and why. Tell me as well if you have any other budgeting tips or secrets that you'd like to share with the community that we can take advantage of. Thank you for watching this video and see you in the next one.